Dear students, welcome to my classroom of Research Methodology in History. Today I am going to discuss some ideas related to facts and historical facts. The interpretations and meaning. What is a fact and what is a historical fact? We need to differentiate between these two concepts, facts and historical facts. Before that, it is important for us to know what is history. What is history for you? Perhaps what is history for me is not the same for you, because all of us are individuals. We have our perceptions. We are human beings. We are emotional. We are rational, and also we are sensitive. With this regard, I must say that it's very difficult to analyze human behavior. It's not like that we are dealing with the robots. The humans are very much unpredictable, and they are the greatest animals because of their wit, intellectual property, or I might say their knowledge of coping up with the situation and also to combat with the difficulties to prove their worth. That is called civilization, starting from the scratch to make a history which is memorable. So, history means the growth and development of civilizations. And here we can find the reflection of the human minds, that how are they constructive, how are they following the rules of the nature, as well as they are trying to invent some other formulas or rules to make the world a better place for living. That means to make a society, to usher the amenities by which they are making their lives more comfortable, and also they are trying to utilize the resources of nature as much as possible. History is not something which is related to the story of a particular gender. It's not his story, it's the story of all, where we find it might be her story or the story of the people who are marginalized, belonging from the other communities as well. If we talk history, this is something which we need to understand before decoding facts and historical facts. You need to understand what is history. It is very much based on your experience, your perceptions. History talks subjectivity, because history is something which is very much human, and where we find the sufferings of the people and also their victories through the ages. So it's a story of human emotions, human instincts. If I talk to know human minds, then I might give you references from Freud, that who has given emphasis on the unconscious behavior of humans, which is responsible for the growth of civilizations. And this growth is not always something which is very much cordial or peaceful. In the pages of history, we find wars, and these battles were very much needed to change or transform the society. Bloodshed or violence is a part of history. That's why history is unpleasant. If I give you the example from the sayings of Machiavelli, he talked politics. According to him, The prince has to be shrewd and benevolent enough to help his kingdom or empire grow. He has to be shrewd like a fox and brave like a lion. So we need both diplomacy and bravery to run an empire. If I talk on the views of Aristotle, what he has said, according to him, women are born to serve the society as per the instructions of the males. That means he accepted patriarchal form of society where women are only the followers of instructions. We find many ideas, many thoughts regard to the human minds, and also how can we connect those thoughts with the definition of history. If I give you an example of what Foucault stated once, for him, knowledge is power. Or if I give you an example of David Arnold, like what he stated while describing the colonial rule in India, that is also very much interesting. According to him, the British came with Western medicine through which they colonized our body. Gradually, they colonized our mind. So colonizing the body is a theory which is very much applicable to understand colonial history in India as per David Arnold's observations. If I talk on colonizing the mind, that gives me an impression to discuss something about the cultural hegemony as mentioned by Gramsci. So we need to understand these various arenas of interpretations. That's why for me history is subjective. But if I tell you something about how J.B. Bury he saw history, then you might feel more amazed or inquisitive. Inquisitiveness is the backbone for knowing social sciences. We have to be inquisitive, we have to be critical. If you are not critical, then it's not possible for you to decipher history or society, because society is a place which is very complex, which is very much political. Humans, they are the social animals. On the other hand, they are very much political. We can find politics everywhere, starting from the household to the various levels of the society. If I come back to my lecture, like as I'm trying to give you the ideas or the views of the various people related to history, then I must say, like, if I would like to understand history, then J.B. Bury, what he stated once, becomes important for my understanding. According to him, history is also science. I have talked about the subjective interpretations of history. How can I make history scientific? That means when I am talking about the facts which are objective. See, now I have started giving you slowly an idea about facts, which is also a part of today's theme. I'm talking about the facts which are objective, and objectivity is the backbone of science. History talks continuity as well. If I try to emphasize on the views of Collingwood and E.H. Carr. What is history? Yes, I have asked you the question, in the beginning of my lecture. Now I'm not asking the question again. I'm not repeating. Rather, I'm giving you a hint of that segment which I'm going to talk now. What is History is the name of the book by E.H. Carr, where he talked on how can we define history, how can we situate history, how can we conceptualize history with the facts which are historical. With this regard, I must say that Collingwood is important to know more about the direction in history. There are various paths to decipher the historical truth. If we would like to collate all these paths and to attain the truth in history, then we need to focus on the continuity of history, which was being stated by Collingwood. From that point of view, history talks time and space. Time and space, they comprise continuity. From that point of view, history is spiritual, religious, and divine, because this concept of time and space has been explained in various religions. If I give you the example of the Hindu religion, then we talk karma. That is also related to time. See, by this way, we can make the historical approach more multidisciplinary and interesting. Now I would like to ask you a question. What is the name of the book written by E.H. Carr? I'm giving you 4 examples. Number 1, My Experiments with Truth. Number 2, Hind Swaraj. Number 3, Gandhi's Rise to Power. And number 4, What is History? The right answer is option 4. What is history? Let's continue our discussion. If I talk on facts now, I hope that now you would be able to understand how I am trying to channelize the discussion today. First, I have given you some rough ideas about how we can idea history, because it's also important for us to know history, to get an idea of history, or if I would try to have an ornamental way of knowing history, then I must say, let's idea history. That means we need to have ideas on history. Let's practice history with the help of those ideas. Think history to know the facts and historical facts. So, all are related to each other. First, have an idea of history, or I may say, idea history. Then practice history. Then think history. Here we can find what I can say a dialectical relationship between all these thoughts, which we can tie up with one string. That string is known as continuity. So these are the hypothetical concepts which help us to understand the philosophy of history. And when I talk on this kind of dialectism, where I must mention like what Hegel and later Marx thought about it. And here also I would like to mention Kant. According to Kant, history is not something which is outside of our existence. We need to feel history in our respective environment. For Kant, history should not be something superficial or overimposed. It is a part of our daily life. If I talk on facts, facts mean which is something where we can also contribute. I'm talking about the subjectivity of facts. What we are looking at, that is a fact. What we are happening around us, that is a fact. But how you are representing the fact, there your own perceptions matter. And you might be imaginative to describe a fact which happened long time back, or your own reservations can be a part of a fact which happened in the contemporary times. If I give you an example, like communalism is a fact, and how you are define communalism, that is subjective. For some, communalism is a vice, but if we try to find out the definition of communalism from the perspective of sociology or social anthropology, then we might get the ideas which are very much interesting and not that much negative, where it has been stated that through the ages, communalism was important for building the communities. So when you are having a community or you are developing some kind of a fraternity, then the sense of having a community can be termed as communalism, and which is not that much bad. So here communalism is a fact, and how we are deciphering the fact, that is not the same for all. But now if I want to know how we can place communalism in history, then the information or the interpretations which we are supposed to receive, that might be termed as historical facts. Then there is no room for be more imaginative or futuristic. We can only deal with the truths or what happened. How you are dealing with the past is very much significant in the case of your understanding of facts and historical facts, because all the facts of the past cannot be incorporated in history as the historical facts. We need to judge the authenticity of those facts so that we can take them as the historical facts. I can give you some examples with this regard. If I tell you like that, we need to know how the medieval Europe progressed and whether it was a dark age at all, then we have to do researches on the events which actually took place in medieval Europe, rather accepting the previous interpretations. As I have observed or seen, or I can say read the history of medieval Europe, then I have found that medieval Europe came with a lot of events which changed or transformed the society, like the emergence of feudalism, which gradually paved the way for coming of capitalism, which changed the society to a great extent. And still we are continuing the legacy of capitalism or neo-capitalism. The second observation which I had, that is how scholasticism changed the minds of the people and made them more productive with regard to constructive works, like how they used their intellect to make the understanding of knowledge in a more fruitful manner, and where the Christian priests, they played an important role. If I give you the example of Saint Augustine and others. My third observation with regard to the medieval Europe is, in the 12th century Renaissance, we found that how people, they started giving emphasis on humanism or humanity along with rationalism, that got a more prominent shape with the Italian Renaissance, which came later. All are historical facts, and what is my opinion after analyzing these facts, telling me to believe that we cannot say medieval Europe was a dark age, because it had the potentials which later played wonders to change the society and also to give some new impetus for the growth of the civilizations. So, I dealt with the historical facts and I have expressed my opinion. The opinion which I have expressed, it's a fact, because here I am talking about something relevant. But you may differ with my understanding of Renaissance, or I am talking about the 12th century Renaissance or the events which took place in medieval Europe. And you may have any other view. That can be regarded as fact as well. But all of us dealt with history to give some views about this, and these views are facts subject to your approval or your disapproval, but we cannot change those information on the basis of which we have developed our views. I hope that students, they have understood how I am trying to differentiate between facts and historical facts. I can give you one more example. There are many stories and novels were written on the socio-cultural history of 19th and 20th century Bengal. But we are not in a position to accept all these novels and stories as historical facts, because there, along with history, we have seen the presence of imagination as well. That is called fiction. Fiction can also deal with history. But if I want to know only historical facts, then I will rather prefer the book by Sukanta Choudhury, and the name of the book is Calcutta the Living City, Volume 1 and 2, instead of relying on the novel by Sunil Gangopadhyay, and the name of the novel is Shei Shomoy. It's a Bengali novel. depicting the socio-cultural history of that time, but as it's a novel, that's why we cannot consider it as a book of history. So this is the difference between facts and historical facts. What we are witnessing, what we are experiencing, all are facts. And on the basis of our imagination, we can also create some facts. We can also construct facts. But whether these facts are carrying truth or not, that should be judged with our intellectual insights, so that whether we can incorporate those in our mainstream historical discourses or not. From that point of view, what I feel that we need to be more cautious with regard to the selection of the facts which we are trying to add in history. Not all the facts are historical. As I have already mentioned, have given you two examples, one from medieval Europe and the other from 19th and 20th century Bengal. So, in your regional history also, you might get this clash or tensions between facts and historical facts. The facts are not always truth, because sometimes we can consider the facts which are written in a book which is perhaps 50 years old or 100 years old, and where we are not in a position to judge the authenticity of that fact. But definitely we can tally that fact with the evidences which are preserved in the archives or anywhere else in case of our understanding of historical facts. When you are writing the history of theatre in colonial Bengal, definitely you can interview the family members of the great theatre personalities. But we cannot depend on only oral history or interview. We need to judge some of the facts in the light of the reports or the articles which we had related to this particular theme, so that we can understand the response of the society in a better manner. And we need to add those facts only which are unbiased and impartial and not hurting the sentiments of others. That's why constructing history in the light of facts is very important, because not all the facts are historical, and vis-a-vis, not all historical facts are facts like what we talk or what we imagine or what are purely subjective. Thank you.